Listen up, rugby fans across North America. You are listening to the Rugby Rant podcast show with your host, Ty Braga, Scott Ferrara, and Rob Hammerschmidt. We tackle the top topics on your behalf as the fan and share all the latest news, player interviews, and more when it comes to Major League Rugby, USA Eagles, and Rugby Canada. Rugby Rant podcast show, growing rugby one fan at a time. Welcome back, rugby fans, to another great episode here on the Rugby Rant. My name is Ty Braga, your host for today's activities, alongside the familiar favorites of Scott, the big guy Ferrara, and Rob, the hammer Hammerschmidt. We are your team here on the Rugby Rant. But more importantly, we have another team from the Rugby Shop joining us. This is not, of course, a familiar format to us, but we have actually got a Canada versus America battle brewing on screen and in this episode. So let's take an opportunity to introduce the boys from the Rugby Shop. First up, Kyle Ferguson. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us, guys. Should be a good time.
Yeah, we're going to have a great time here as you guys battle it out in this rugby debate show. Let's introduce Ed, the boss pie. Ed, welcome to the show.
Pleasure to be here, Ty. Love your work so far.
It's only been a minute. Give me time. I can still
Pretty
disappoint.
good so far. Anyway, yeah.
That's why he gave it to you now. He gave it to you now. He's not later.
Yeah, just ask him to say Rooster Booster, and he'll mess it all up.
Fail every time. Fail every time. So we move on, gentlemen. Now, once again, I want to take the opportunity, as per normal, to remind our viewers that are tuning in, whether it be by podcast or watching us on Facebook or any of the other social platforms. We are the Rugby Debate Show, where we put ourselves and our guests to the test to battle one another for top honors. In this case, it'll be a team battle. We'll be having Rob and Scott representing the Rugby Rant, and then we'll be having in the other corner, of course, celebrating the color red, is our Canadian counterparts at the Rugby Shop with Kyle and Ed. Now, we've decided to be able to do things a little differently here today. On this occasion, we're going to break tradition, and we're first off going to be doing a interesting game, which is called Canadian or American. They get to be able to decide by sharing one quote, one item, could be a person, could be a food, could be anything. They need to tell me if they think it's Canadian or American. Should they get it correct? Of course, they get a point. The points count for nothing, but we'll find out who wins at the end. So, gentlemen, now that we understand that will be how we started, most importantly, where does the debate happen? That's right in the middle. And we're going to be talking about all the good things to come in Major League Rugby Season 4, where each of our guests will have their opening rant to be able to talk about the best things to come, why they think it's important, and what you as a fan should take note of as we head into Season 4, an exciting time as it's on our doorstep. March 20th is the opening for the season. So here we stand, gentlemen. Do you guys know what is at stake?
I think we do.
Yeah, Rob has spoken.
Yep, it's world supremacy. Well, at least North American supremacy.
So the Canadian-American border relations continue here on the Rugby Rant.
and
so
I want you guys, let's put something on the table, some stakes, maybe like all your hockey sticks. And if we win, we get all your hockey sticks. And if you guys win, what do we have?
Yeah. Tom Brady. Yeah. That sounds good.
Take the American
Tom Brady to the Saskatchewan, huh? Tom Brady to the Rough Riders. Is that what we're saying?
We'll bring him up to the CFL, see how he likes it.
Hey, from his YouTube videos or whatever happened from this weekend, I'm pretty sure he was a Rough Rider all weekend long.
And on that bombshell, what a great segue you set me up for there, Rob. But more importantly, fellas, I want to be able to take an opportunity for everybody who has heard what we do here on the show week after week, episode after episode on the Rugby Rant. They know we love what we do, but we get to be able to do it with your help at the Rugby Shop, who sponsor our show. So, let's take an opportunity. We very seldom get to be able to hear from the guys behind the brand. We have Ed and Kyle here. Ed, I want to ask you a question. Help people understand, who is the Rugby Shop and why do you do what you do?
Yeah, and I guess like all good stories, the Rugby Shop started with a bit of drama. Our intrepid leader, the founder of the Rugby Shop, J Mac, who sends his apologies, he couldn't be here tonight with us, but he and just to preface it by saying that all of the 90% of the employees at the rugby shop are referees or coaches or still playing the game. Kyle and myself are both referees. We've got 2 World Rugby referees on staff, 3 or 4 panel referees. But J-Mac, who was our founder, he was refereeing on the BC panel up here in BC, and was at a tournament in Vancouver, and basically had all his gear stolen out of his truck. And one of the obvious problems in North America is trying to resource all of that gear. He had whistles and boots and balls and everything he had stolen out of his truck. So he had a real hard time trying to figure out where to replace all this gear. So that's kind of where the conception of the rugby shop was born, and it started out with referee gear, and that's where I came on board because I was part of the referee association there as well. And then it kind of just very quickly we saw that there was a demand for team gear and team equipment, so we very quickly transitioned over to teams, and then we sort of built that up for a couple of years, and then these bigger opportunities started coming knocking, Major League Rugby and Canterbury and a couple of big opportunities for us. So we were very keen to, our mandate has always been to grow rugby in North America, to help youth development, to try and bring the game to the level that we think it should be in North America. So we've been very keen to get on board with all of these programs, help support initiatives, help support things like the Rugby Rant, people just trying to grow the game. And, with that has come our partnership with Major League Rugby and all these other good things as well. So it's been a real growth experience for us. We're really happy with where things have gone and looking forward to building it more in the future.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting story. And what I hear you say is that everybody at the rugby shop is a rugby person, right? So it's so entwined with what you do, what you believe, how we act. I mean, it's clearly evident in what you do that you guys are passionate, and we thank you not only from our part, but you're doing your part to be able to grow the game in the way that you know how, and of course supporting other people to do it even better than, with your help.
Yeah, there's one thing I'll say about the rugby community. It just doesn't matter where you go in the world. I'm from New Zealand, but if you go to Canada, America, wherever you go, the rugby community is always really welcoming, and everybody is there to try and, grow that culture and improve the game. So that's just one of those great things about rugby.
Fantastic. And that's exactly what we aim to be able to do here, is to be able to, grow the rugby culture here in the US. And that's why we brought you into this conversation here. Not only to have a little bit of fun, but to be able to continue sharing the good word of Major League Rugby as it is just around the corner. And I know I am excited. Much can be the same said for my colleagues and all the fans out there. But let's dive into a little bit of fun here, gentlemen. So I wanted to be able to remind you that in this first part, we're going to be asking you whether it's Canadian or American. So, Ed, you are first up. So I'm going to throw something random at you, and you tell me whether you believe it is Canadian or American in origin. First up, bagged milk.
Bagged milk.
Yep.
That sounds pretty processed to me. I'm going to have to say that's American.
Canadian it is.
Oh.
I was going to say that's definitely Canadian.
You gave the Canadian team a kiwi. Come on, man.
Is this the first bagged milk, or is this just bagged milk in general?
It's milk in bags. I'm not sure how to explain it, Ed.
like wine in bags, Ed, but milk.
Okay, so you don't get a negative, but you get nothing for that. We're going to hand it over to Rob Hammerschmidt. So, Rob, here is your thing. Is it Canadian or American? Let's go ahead. And it is deep fried butter.
Boy, deep fried butter. I mean, you're from Iowa, Ty. You got to know that, the farming communities in Iowa and Illinois would just love.
I don't need the history, Rob.
Pretty much everything. I'm stalling if you haven't figured it out. But you know what? I'm going to actually, I'm going to go American.
It is American, and it is Iowa.
Damn right,
Bam.
It's American.
I even got the state. Give me two.
Iowa State Fair. The guy does the Last Supper in butter and there's butter on the table in the Last
there's
Supper.
the butter carving.
You should get less points though, because like, don't you have a time limit to answer? Like, it's a one-word answer. It's American or Canadian, not in Iowa, deep fried, blah blah.
Kyle, don't you?
It's funny.
You know, all of a sudden, what Scott normally does in the show, which is complain to the referee. You've taken this responsibility, Kyle. Thank you very much. It's good to know that somebody's still fulfilling that role.
All right,
50 pounds ago, I was.
It's good to know that somebody recognizes the fact that Rob and Ty talk too much.
I wish I had the button to pull you off screen now, Scott, but you are in control. Okay, so gentlemen, let's move it across to Kyle Ferguson. Kyle the Mouth Ferguson. So we've got another question here, Canadian or American. Here we go. It is chocolate-covered bacon.
Canadian.
Canadian is wrong.
Oh,
it is an American invention.
Jersey, right? That's a Jersey thing.
It is indeed.
Kyle, maybe you should have taken more time to think about that one, and perhaps you would have gotten it right.
Nah, I would have been wrong anyways. It didn't matter. So
did you say chocolate-covered Canadian bacon?
Yeah.
All right. So
you didn't say back bacon. That's cheating.
So Canada after one round.
You got to remember their bacon's they were thinking Canadian bacon.
Right. Chocolate covered bacon. All right. So here we go. Scott, you're going to close out this round. Hopefully call it a win. Canadian or American? Smarties.
Ooh.
I can't say more than that. Smarties.
We know where M&M's come from.
I know. I like Smarties too. I'm going to say Canadian.
Canadian it is.
Yeah. Nice. That's my partner.
I just want to before with that.
The Rugby Rant takes an early lead in round one on that one. Let's see if we can do another round and see if Canada can come back with Rugby Chop driving seat there.
Well, we might get more rounds in if Rob doesn't talk so much. So let's see.
Canada throwing mud. So here we go. Ed, it's back over to you, my friend. Here we go. Canadian or American? Ryan Gosling.
That's easy. All the best actors and best looking actors come from Canada. That is Canadian.
Canadian is correct.
Total liability at defensive back in Remember the Titans. Just to let you know, total liability at defensive back in that movie.
Well, what about The Notebook? Come on.
All right. So
he would bring that up with his martini in hand.
Hey, tip your pinky when you drink that thing, huh?
Oh yeah.
All right. So, Rob, let's hear it. It is going to be, again, American or Canadian. It is Coffee Crisp.
Coffee Crisp. I've never heard of a Coffee Crisp. I got to go with Canadian.
Canadian it is.
Yeah.
Never heard of that either.
Right.
Yeah.
If you never heard of it, it's Canadian. That's the news. All right. So, let's
put that in your toque and smoke it there, Ferguson.
All right, so Kyle, let's see what you got. Let me see.
Faster answer. It was well played.
It's basically it tastes like coffee. So there you go.
Oh, okay, okay.
We'll send you some in your next care package.
Oh, there
Sticking with the coffee theme, Kyle, answer this one for us: American or Canadian? Iced coffee.
Ooh, American.
What was your answer?
American
is correct. All right.
Yeah. So no comments there, Hammer.
Scott, are they now up on the board? Is that finally?
That's 2 points to one. Scott can tie it.
Okay.
Scott can tie it. All right, Scott. It's up to you to be able to tie this round. Okay. Here we go. It is American or Canadian. Kenny versus Spenny.
Canadian.
So you're sticking with the rule. If you've never heard of it, it's Canadian, right?
Yeah. Right. I saw Kyle fucking laugh, so I'm going Canadian.
Yeah, I think we gave it we gave it away.
For those of you who don't know, Kenny and Spenny is like one of the great cult comedy duos that is like a tragic story. It is two friends that were like pit against each other week after week in the most ridiculous battles. Kenny Hotz and Spencer Rice. So it is Canadian.
I'm just laughing
so that ties the round.
That was.
No,
okay.
you had no idea.
All right, we're going to do one more round here, gentlemen, and we'll see who takes this. And let's move along as swiftly as we can. So we'll start it again with Ed. So let's go ahead. What? We'll start with you. Ed, you were starting a new round. American or Canadian?
Sorry, none of this is connected. I just wanted to look professional like the big guy. So
That is Kiwi then. Yeah. That's a pretty elaborate prop, though.
Yeah,
I must give you kudos for timing. That was excellent.
Yeah, it took me a while to bring that one in, but got there.
Yeah.
All right.
He was waiting.
Fantastic. For those of you that can't see what we just saw, Ed had what looked to be quite the professional podcast setup, only to come to realize that the earphones were not plugged in and the microphone didn't work. So it's all just a farce.
I brought my own props. Yeah.
All right. So, American or Canadian? Mike Myers.
Oh, you keep giving me the famous comedians here, and obviously that's an SNL connection. So there's a bunch of Canadians that came down from what was there's a Canadian one there that
is this a Rob answer?
Yeah, no doubt.
He's going to give us a dissertation on comedian comedy.
It's Canada. Yep, for sure.
It's Canada. All right. Point goes to you. Canada on the board in this last round to tie it up. Let's move it over to Rob Hammerschmidt. Rob, solo cups. You got a kid in college, and you got one about to go into college. So I'm pretty sure this could be a large part of the education.
Yeah, I've seen a ping pong ball go in them, but that doesn't mean I know where they're made. But I'm gonna go with American.
American, it is.
Oh.
Good pick. Good pick. It's 1-1, tied up. Let's hand it over to Kyle the Mouth Ferguson. Big Dipper beef and cheese sticks.
Ooh. Whoa.
That could go either way.
American.
Are you sure?
No.
I respect your answer. Is that your final answer? American.
Sure. Yep.
Your confidence is overwhelming, but you are correct.
Oh, yes.
Okay, go with your first instinct.
What the hell is that, Rob?
Probably from Philly. It's probably from Philly.
I don't know where it's from. It said it's one of the classic American snacks. So
where? Yeah,
American.
exactly.
I live in Chicago. A classic American snack is an Italian beef.
Right. Okay, so here we go. On to Scott. Let's see if you can tie it up again. Let me see which one I'm going to do. All right. Okay, here we go. American or Canadian? Lay's ketchup chips.
Oh, definitely Canadian.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
It is correct.
I was going to say, because ketchup chips is a thing in the UK too. So I was like, it definitely is not.
As well.
Yeah.
We have a very unrefined palate.
They're called crisps in the UK, I believe.
Yeah, which always got me. So, gentlemen, after that round, American or Canadian, it actually ends up being the first round is a win for the Rugby Rant side. Then it was 2 draws after that. That leaves him the winner in this particular round. So,
well done.
Congratulations to Scott and Rob. You are the winners on this particular occasion, the first American or Canadian debate. So,
and I suspect with our next bunch of merch from the rugbyshop.com, we will be getting a shitload of hockey sticks, please. So empty your garages.
I think it's probably going
to need a new twig, boys.
That's right.
Send one down.
Right.
I need a new twig.
That's right.
There will be no
Sherwood.
actual
I go
merch.
straight Sherwood. None of that graphite bullshit.
You'll make my younger son happy as hell. Right now, he is actually playing hockey, so he'll be excited to get some new wood.
We'll get our production team.
That was the big guy's first sport.
Wow, you need more wood to go in your Manscaped ad, I think.
Right, I was going to say, on that note,
over
to the king of comedy on the show, that's Mr. Scott Ferrara.
Favorite part of the show here, people.
Valentine's Day. Yeah, listen, Valentine's Day is right now, actually. And are you ready to make sure that your area is ready whenever the night's going to take you? 2 million men are trusting Manscaped products to groom. Make sure you're one of them. Oh man, and what can make your package special is the Perfect Package 3.0 for the best products to keep you looking, smelling, and feeling nice. The Perfect Package 3.0 is led by the revolutionary third generation Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer, which has advanced skin safe technology. When you're clipping your boys down there, you don't want those nicks, you don't want those cuts. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. It's also waterproof, which helps prevent the mess on the bathroom floor into the sink. That's something my wife constantly complains about, especially when it's time for Cupid to shoot his arrow, maybe in Toronto. And let's be real, we've smelled some of the worst stuff down there before, so that's why I'm thankful for their Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. These products keep our boys from sweating, smelling, and sticking. You use deodorant for your underarms. Why not use deodorant for the smelliest part of your body? The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with a pair of Manscaped boxers that'll keep your junk feeling fresh all day. It's time to upgrade from those overused pairs of boxers. Use the Manscaped High Performance Boxers, and they have that anti-chafing technology there, because when you got that rash down there, it's terrible. So grab some Manscaped boxers. And also, actually, the new thing we all just got is the signature scent from Manscaped, which is the Redefined Cologne. This cologne is the perfect complement to any of your cologne collections. I'm a cologne guy. I like many different colognes. There's a perfect cologne for every different type of day. So make sure you get the Perfect Package 3.0. Get it in time for Valentine's Day with the Rugby Rant. Use the code Rugby Rant at manscaped.com to get 20% off and free shipping. Again, go to manscaped.com. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Rugby Rant, and your boys will thank you.
Welcome back, rugby fans, again to the Rugby Rant podcast show. My name is Ty Braga. Alongside the host of guests over here, we got Rob Hammerschmidt, Scott Ferrara, Kyle Ferguson, and Ed Pye. This is the Canada versus America battle when it comes to rugbyshop.com and, of course, the Rugby Rant team. Now, what are we talking about in this segment? We put it out to you, our audience, out in the MLR fan zone and beyond. And what came out tops is to be able to find out what are the great things to come. What do we think are the things you should look out for as a fan in Major League Rugby Season 4, as it is right on our door. March 20th is the date that it all kicks off. But what can we look forward to? We're going to hand it over to Ed Pye to tell us what he thinks it might be.
Thanks, Ty. We'll have a look around the league for what I'm excited for. I was kind of looking at players that have been signed and, how teams are shaping up. And there was two teams that really caught my eye. I think, everybody's been interested in the Giltinis and who they've been signing, and the Jackals, of course, the new teams. But there are two teams that I think that have signed the best recruiters in 2020, and that is SD Legion and the Toronto Arrows. And some of these signings have gone under the radar a little bit, but the Legion right now have by far the fastest outside back team in the league. Cecil Africa, extreme pace. Bjorn Basson, he's a little bit older, but he was one of these guys who could really burn. And then Cam Clark, and I don't know if anybody's seen, Rico Ioane is touted as one of the fastest All Blacks of all time. There's a video of Cam Clark chasing Rico Ioane down over 90 meters with probably a 15-meter start on him, and Cam Clark birds him down. He's got serious gas. Africa, Basson, and Clark, that is a top-quality trio for an outside back trio. But then the Arrows as well, which has also gone under the radar, they've signed Tucalet, Montero. These are international Argentinian international players. They've got Gaston Mieres, who's still there, one of the slipperiest guys in the league. And then Leandro Levias, who's also just a powerhouse player. Those two outside back trios that's going to be an immense matchup when those two meet. The game's not on the schedule yet, but it's going to be a really good game. Added to which you've got Taylor Adams, who I think is probably the best ball player in the league, playing for the Arrows at 10. He's going to be able to give those guys some space. And then maybe Dan Carter with the Legion. We don't know, but maybe.
On that note, Dan Carter, at 38 years old, can he still do it? Right? And that's the question people have been asking. What value would he provide? And I suppose it's kind of like that moment that Major League Soccer had signed David Beckham. Maybe it might have the same pull, maybe it won't. The prestige that comes with him is certainly intriguing. So, yeah, I mean, people would be very curious to be able to see where he would land up. But the general speculation is that it would be the Legion if it was that he would come across to Major League Rugby. More to the
why
point
is that the speculation? Who
because
speculated
it
that?
hasn't been confirmed and it's still rumors and, it's evolving, right?
It's the Manonu connection.
Because I know he has. Yeah, but
the guy,
you have to realize he has friends on a certain East Coast team too. So, I mean, really good friends on a certain East Coast team. So I think people are overlooking that.
So when you go to the East Coast,
are you guys? I mean, is this a different rant now? Did we just change?
My turn to
get the memo
up right now, or I've got a couple of more points here.
Yeah. Do I get to jump in now on this one, or are we going?
Well, look, okay. So
we're skipping Rob's time, correct?
Springboard for Rob. Let's use that as a springboard for Rob. Rob, what is your thought in regards to DC coming over to the MLR? And then tell us what is your points that you most enjoy looking forward to in season 4.
DC's not coming to MLR. Why? He just had a baby. He's not bringing a newborn and 3 other kids over here.
Didn't have the baby yet. She's pregnant.
Yeah, it's going to pop anytime soon, from what I understand. I've talked to many doctors on this one. All right, so what am I excited about? There's a number of things I'm excited about, but one of the things that really excites me as I look forward to the season, which starts on March 20th, is the young draftees. I'm really, really excited to see some of the young players that are coming out of college from their first ever draft and see how they do. 2 years ago, as I looked at the 2019 season, I really wanted to see how a couple guys down there in NOLA performed. And Nick Feeks is one of those guys. Malcolm May was one of those guys. And I kind of predicted, they might not be in the mix that first year, but we're going to see them become more of a feature in 2020. Well, interestingly, Nick Feeks scores the first trifecta in MLR history. And then Malcolm May was very much a part of their back row trio last year in the shortened season. So here's the guys I'm really looking forward to. Remember, Mooneyham just signed with the AGs. Okay, that'll be interesting there because they already have a very good squad. He should develop quite nicely. I'm really looking forward to see how Brian Nolt mixes in with the NOLA front row. I want to see Madden. Okay, Patrick Madden really excites me. I want to see how he measures up, if he gets in at all and sees any time, and see how he develops. And we know now that Bronson Tellis is going to be down in Houston. These guys, I think, can be the foundation for USA Rugby's future. And we just because they were in college, we don't get to see much college rugby televised here in the United States. We haven't gotten a chance to see how they perform in the pitch, how they play, what their style's like. And that's what I'm excited to see. So I look forward to that. And I'm going to throw a shout out to my guy, Roddy from Lindenwood, and Nikki T from Lindenwood, and my guy, McLeish. Better show up on that pitch down there, NOLA, brother. So I'm excited to see some college boys get some time and develop.
Right. It's interesting that you both, between yourself, Rob, and Ed, have spoken about the players being some of the most interesting points of success for the league, but at different ends of the scale, right? You're talking about the younger generation being promoted into this league for the first time as the next generation, right? The guys that will hopefully grow to be able to take us to even greater heights. And then, Ed, you're talking about the wealth of experience that already exists, and then also that experience that's coming in to be able to possibly nurture that next generation. So it's interesting that that both of those forces, those players, have an incredible influence just in different areas. And for you, it's going to be something important to watch. So great insights there from both Ed and Rob. Let's hand it over to Kyle Ferguson. What do you think?
Tough ones to follow there, boys. But I think to Rob's point with Connor Mooneyham there going to AGs, that's a big signing for them, in my humble opinion. They're already a stacked team. I think they're gonna do well and sort of flying under the radar here. They've got a good coaching staff and a run very, very well. Looking forward to the Texas Derby there, which is coming up April 3rd, I believe, with Houston. I know some of you guys have picked Dallas to win that. Well, keep dreaming for 2025. So
suck it, Kyle.
Yeah, so you can just keep going for that one, but I'll pick the AGs on this one, I think. I don't know. That'll be a tough one. Anywho, so that's where we're going there. I think team flying under the radar maybe Seattle, as people aren't really talking about them much, but I mean, back-to-back champs, they were showing well. they haven't lost a ton of players. There haven't been big signings like the other people, but I think they're going to be doing all right there too on the West Coast. As Ed said, SD Legion are looking strong. I think I was going to bring up the Beckham effect there, Ty, with, bringing in these older guys. And I think it's just bringing more eyes to the game, let's say, right, and just getting these big names in there, the Rob Shaws and such that, look at Nonu in there in San Diego. Yeah, he was older, but man, he looked good. We were down in Vegas last year and he was just a step above everybody else. And at his age to do that and just bring that level of competition up in North America is exactly what is needed, in my opinion, to help grow the game overall and get these young guys like the Mooneyhams and everybody that Rob mentioned up to that next level and show them how to get there. And that's what's going to grow the game. So
excellent points. You echoed some of the same things, and I want to kind of drive into the player aspect again. So you spoke about Mooneyham. Now, Mooneyham, an interesting one, was actually, I believe, was supposed to be rumored to be the number one pick in the draft, right? Or at least the top seed, and ended up being that it didn't go that way. And of course, we know that the MLR draft was in its infancy. It was only its first time. It's still yet to be seen whether that.
I thought Mooneyham
he was number one. He was number one.
Number one to Dallas. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So I couldn't remember if he was number one, or maybe I'm thinking of Madden. Madden.
No. What you're thinking of is there was two locks. Both of them, I think, were from Scotland, and one of them went to OGDC, and Dottie Cameron. Yeah.
Dougie Fife.
I know that you Rob know that very well because you put
Cameron Dodson was supposed to be the other one.
Yeah. So more to the point, you spoke about the AGs. Now, so I will probably say that the AGs is most likely for me, the guys that are thinking outside the box right now. Their organization seems a lot more solid than it did last year. Obviously, there's an interesting history when it comes to rugby in Austin. It's very different iterations, but this seems the most stable right now. It's got great backing. Their marketing campaign is second to none right now. I'm loving what they're doing. Their marketing team, their media guys are like hitting it out the park on almost every occasion. And they're in a different league right now, dare I say, to the rest of the MLR teams. And I do hope that because they raised that bar, they'll bring the others up with them. So that's a great thing to be able to look forward to see. I know it might not necessarily be the best season to be able to see if that marketing translates into more seats being filled. But it's still going to be more eyeballs, as you so rightly pointed out, Kyle. It's about getting more people to interact, more people to notice, more people to watch. That's the key in season 4. So great point and great round from Kyle. Let's hand it over to Scott Ferrara.
Well, first of all, at the time of this recording, Patrick Madden is peddling his wares to the Bonus Point podcast. So he can, I'm going to poo-poo Patrick Madden because he got to start in rugby podcasts, a certain rugby podcast that we might or might not be on right now. But let's get hot, fellas. So I think the big thing I'm excited about is the derbies. We're actually going to have legit derbies. That on the East Coast, which we didn't get to have last year. We're going to have the 2 matches again. That was actually one of my disappointments in last week's episode, was saying that we didn't have a third leg of the derby. But beggars can't be choosers. We're getting 2 legs of derbies this year. You're going to see that New England Rooney derby. You're going to see that Atlanta OG, that Atlanta NOLA. I guess Toronto and Atlanta are going to be a derby now, considering they're sharing a pitch. That's pretty cool, actually. I think that would be. Honestly, I think that's like an interesting derby, Atlanta,
that
Toronto
needs to
from
be
from
marketed as like a battle for home turf,
Yeah, seriously, and it's nice to see. We're gonna get to see the Giltinis. I think I'm most excited to see what happens with the Giltinis. They've curated this roster to me that rivals any roster in the MLR right now. You got a lot of players going to that team. And we haven't heard much from them, and everybody's going crazy with the radio silence. But you know what? I think they're kind of on the sneak there. I think the radio silence is going to be persistent, and I think it's going to pay off right up until the season. I think the rugby shop guys know that, it's the Giltinis are where it's at. I know Kyle loves the colors, and me and him. That's the only thing I think me and him agree upon are the Giltini colors. But
I'm a fan.
I can't. And honestly, let's be honest. They're probably going to have to move to Vegas too, and that'll be another. Not only will the Derby for California be obviously San Diego versus LA, but now it'll be a battle for the home turf in Vegas. So it's all these interesting storylines that we might not would have had in a quote unquote regular season in the MLR. So.
Right. I love that the Giltinis fans have turned the corner now in terms of, they've gotten over some of the stuff. People are now starting to promote how they're going to go to games and dress up and get into the whole atmosphere of the games alongside the AGs who are looking to do these huge entertainment spectacles. So that's going to be cool too.
And it's interesting that you bring that up though, Ed. And I think it does warrant just a moment to be able to sit on that topic for a bit, because everybody kind of, and to quote Scott, poo-pooed all over the Giltinis, right? Because of the name, because of the brand culture and whatever else. I think people have now shifted their focus. They're like, hang on. And this is, again, to Scott's point, is like these guys have put together, at least on paper, a stellar team. I mean, you've got hot shots from rugby that are present, not only past, right? These are guys that can take the field at an international platform and still produce great results consistently as well, which is some of the criticism that has been received when you look at players like Dan Carter, for example, because that popped up. There's a lot of criticism that surrounds the fact, do we need players of that age? What can they contribute more than one season? So yes, I do get that to a certain point, to a certain degree. Echoing what Kyle had said is that it still brings eyes in. It still brings experience in. That is nothing that you have present in your league right now that are consistently at that caliber. The more we bring in, the more we can share, the more we can develop. And talking about developing culture, fan culture, whether it be the cohort, whether it be the Rooster Boosters, I got it right, or whether it be any other team or like the Giltinis, that is something that's also kind of organically grown in rugby culture here in the US that I hope I see blossom in season 4. What do you guys think?
Well, absolutely. And somebody brought it up. I think they posted a picture of some guy in a robe and a martini glass, and
right. This is what we were doing with Nick Boyer, and we added a monocle and a cane.
So you got to go back to that. You got to go back to that episode. I think we flashed an image of that. But embrace it. Embrace the fun of it. Isn't that what it's supposed to be about? Right. Rugby's supposed to be fun. And okay, so let's get over the name. Now that we're done with that. Let's embrace what each culture is going to have to bring because the great thing about it, when you go and visit wherever it is and you see an away match, you get to experience something different than what you get at your home pitch. And that's what rugby's about.
Yeah. And I was going to say, like, to that point, Rob, like the sevens tournaments, like what do people love about that? It's the experience, it's the fans, right? Like that's what you need to build at these
that it has.
Yeah. Right. Totally. Like that's what needs to be built here. And I guess going back to what you're saying, Ty, about these older players, it's the David Beckham effect to me, right? Like you need to bring these players in to get more people to watch. Like the MLS, you're telling me that did not help that league overall? Of course it did. Right. Like how many people went to soccer games that were not soccer fans that just wanted to see David Beckham play? That maybe now are soccer fans, right? Like it's just about getting people into the game. And I think that's important. And the Giltinis, last point, Scott, and then I'll let you go. But the Giltinis, I think, watch out for their marketing. I don't have any knowledge of this, but, Gilchrist being the owner of Austin,
it is.
You're saying AGs are sick. I would not be surprised to see some sick marketing coming out of LA.
Tell me, how cool would it be to have on Hollywood Boulevard, red carpet, and this big announcement with all the players rolling in? I mean, that would be exciting. And I just know that's what Gilly has in store.
Yeah. And you got guys like Gito and Ashley Anderson Cooper that haven't been, there was rumors, but nothing's been said. Is there more coming, right?
They've been loosely connected to the franchises run by Gilchrist, but, it's yet to be determined still. But they definitely are not short of any star power as it stands. And that's a credit to where, the league is going and where it's growing. Chris Robshaw being another great evidence of that. He's now made his way across to the US as far as we know, in his quarantine, at least for now. But, there's another great star power. And does he have that Beckham effect? Probably not, but it does bring credibility to have a player of his stature, former England captain, Harlequin's staple for a decade. These are great points to be able to bring in. But
I have a question for the U.S. Contingent here.
Yeah,
is there some kind of immigration issue with Argentinians? Like, why have the teams not signed more of the Jaguares because Arrows have signed 4 of them. The Western Force in Australia have signed a bunch. Why are people not picking up these international players?
Because South Africans are cheaper.
Well, again, it's as we saw with a player like Drew Mitchell, it was hard for him to prove to these officials that he was a professional rugby player. You know,
Right.
So that's something that I talk about constantly, that you actually have to prove you play professional rugby, and you're proving it, and you're trying to prove it to somebody who doesn't know what rugby is. And it's I think it just gets ridiculous, and I think
Education, right?
it's harder for those South American players, to come in because of that. But what I was going to say before is I don't think that those players have the Beckham effect, because you have to realize Beckham was a supermodel, and he was into multiple things that kind of catapulted him just out of
Beckham,
soccer stardom. Yeah, but what it does do is it takes a fan like me, and when I want to show my friends, oh, these are the types of guys we have in the MLR now, I can show them Chris Robshaw captaining an England team in a World Cup. You know, I can show them, Dan Carter and all the amazing things he does, and Mananu and all that. So I think they have that crossover ability to try and bring in new fans.
And I think
also the Giltinis listen
to the league.
Yeah, and the Giltinis are smart. They get Snoop Dogg in a friggin' Giltinis kit, sipping on some gin and juice. First
in a smoking jacket. Absolutely.
In a smoking jacket.
But Ed, to your point, don't forget Julian Dominguez down there at NOLA, Argentinian. Juan Capiello just added to the roster last year, Argentinian. So I think teams are doing it, but they're finding where those players fit into their rosters.
Right. And also, it's important to be able to note that while rugby in the US and Canada is now finding its professionalism with Major League Rugby, last year, unfortunately, was the beginning of the SLA, but it was cut short, just like the MLR season. So it already had a lot of those Argentinian 15s players incorporated into some of those teams there that, yeah, I mean, some of them ended up going to other clubs, some, things like that. I mean, I hope that they end up coming back, but nevertheless, rugby where it is right now in the US and Canada is without a doubt in the best position that it has been, at least for a very, very long time. So I want to be able to take the opportunity to swing it once around the table again. We'll start it where we started this round with Ed and find out again, what is your prediction for the season? What is your overall outcome? Where do we measure the success? Let's put it that way.
Well, I think first and foremost, getting on the field, the COVID is one of these things that needs to be, and hopefully everything works well and everything, goes to plan. But getting out on the field, I think, is first and foremost. And then I think what we're going to see from this season is that because teams are going to be in a somewhat of a bubble together, you've got Toronto down Atlanta, you got people in Vegas. I think that's actually going to raise the quality of games. So I think we're going to see some higher quality games with people sort of in the same area. The travel is reduced. There's more time to prepare for games and stuff at the venue. So I think that's going to lead to some high quality stuff. I think in terms of an outcome, last year, I predicted the Arrows were going to take the whole thing out because of their recruitment. I think I'll stick with that because they've just added to their strength. So,
and to that point, and to give you credit, the Arrows were on a stellar course to the top. I mean, I think they were only stumped by the Colorado Raptors in their final game by 3 points. But yes, the Arrows have a great structure. They've obviously got a good product that they put out in the field, and we hope to be able to see them do the same in their new home, although it be temporary, down in Rugby ATL, as they call that home base for the season, which is another point that is so unique to the season in season 4, is that you're going to have these wonderful home derby rivals that wouldn't normally exist in any other condition except for under these conditions, right?
Yeah. And we saw the Crusaders back in 2011, I think it was, travel basically played away from home the whole year because of the earthquake in Christchurch. And went to the final. I think they lost in the final to the Reds, but it doesn't mean that they're going to be any worse for that. I think you can really bond together as a team when you're in that situation.
Absolutely. And let's hear what Rob has to share.
So I guess I would say this. Look at what the league's done thus far to try to make things happen starting on March 20th. Toronto's moved across the border. They're staying at home. They're stationing themselves in Atlanta. You've got San Diego is going to be playing their games in Las Vegas. And in all likelihood, LA will probably be doing the same. So I guess I look at it like this. If this season goes off without a hitch, tell me that wouldn't send a message about the strength that this league will have moving forward, that at such a young level with so few years under the belt, that they're able to overcome a crisis like COVID, put on a good product, get through a difficult time, and get on the other end of it and demonstrate that rugby can be strong, thrive, and survive here in the United States, and set a springboard for 2027, 2031.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, as you said, it's the foundation that we lay now that'll reap rewards later, not only for Major League Rugby and professionalism for the sport, but for the entire nation, as it does have a positive ripple effect. Thank you, Rob.
And Canada, because it's probably going to be a co-hosted World Cup.
Absolutely. And it should be, right? I mean, obviously there's so many merits to it, and it's pretty much the same conversation that you have. Like, you could take that conversation and say, well, Toronto and Rugby ATL partnership is mutually beneficial. Likewise, for a Canadian-American bid for the World Cup, it's
Absolutely
mutually beneficial. So let's hear what Kyle has to say.
Well, those are, again, good points, gentlemen. I'm not really sure what to look forward to the most. Yeah, they're nailing it here. But to get the season off would be quite outstanding to me in general. They don't get to live in a bubble like some of these leagues did, like the NBA, just going down to Florida and just living, making millions of dollars and living in a bubble, like, to get that season off. So this is something different, and guys that should be working on the side and doing all that kind of stuff. So to Rob's point, just to get the season, if they can get the whole season through, would be pretty outstanding. The other part, I guess, is getting some coverage on TV, and how, whether it's TV or Facebook or anything like that, and just trying to get the viewership up. Like, how do we do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying we, because we're all rugby people. Like, how do we get those viewers up? And, what's the standard per game that you want to see people viewing? You can go on Facebook and see, oh, there's 20 people watching. Well, where's that number? What are we looking for? What would be success? I don't know. I mean, they're looking at 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people in a stadium. What do we want to see watching? 10, 20, 30? I mean, 100, 200 would be great, but what's the success based on that? Yeah. And then just have the final where AGs take it would be fantastic.
Oh, so bold prediction that you think Austin's going to be right there to the end.
There you have it.
Okay. So
off the board.
I do like about that. So talking about viewership now, obviously, if the world was in a normal, well, normals are going to be a relative term these days, right? Let's just say pre-COVID times, you could measure success if it was like, okay, how many seats have been sold? How many people attended on an average across the league for your team? You've got these KPIs that you can look at and go, all right, great. We did better than last year. We did worse than last year. You're not going to have that because last year didn't happen. All right. So it's a false expectation already set. Should it be better? Yeah, absolutely. If we just finish the season, that would be a win. I agree with everybody who has said that. More to the point of why I wanted to be able to address what you said there, Kyle, is the viewership. So last year, even though it was a truncated season, by the time it had ended 5 games in, the viewership, eyeballs tuning in to watch Major League Rugby games, was already higher than the year previous to that. And that was pre-COVID, right? So you have to be able to say, okay, it was on an upward trajectory. Could it have continued the same manner? I believe so. If you look at the success on record, the highest viewership, CBS primetime, was the 2019 championship at Torero Stadium, which had, I think, just about 500,000 viewers. That is the benchmark of success. Will we get there again? I don't know. Do we have the opportunity now? Yes, because while you might not be able to attend games in person, you can do everything you can to watch them. And I think that's what will make the difference this season, is being able to engage audiences that we haven't yet engaged. So thank you for that contribution, Kyle. Let's end it off with the big guy, Scott Ferrara.
I think personally, a success for me would be seeing fans at every home match for every team. So if even if it's just one match, home match for Rooney, that last match, to see fans there, I would say if every team has fans at least one home match, that's a success. That shows that we can persevere against this COVID. We can persevere as a society of rugby loving fans. We can support our teams. It was very hard for me as a Rooney fan last year to after everything ended, it was like, I didn't even get that one shot, and right now they just are talking about opening things up in New York, is the news, in larger arenas. They haven't talked about smaller arenas yet, but it seems like we're making these incremental changes in policy to get there. So again, to reiterate, I think for me personally, if there are home fans at least one home match for every team, and that includes Toronto in Toronto, I think that would be a success.
Hopefully Toronto does find a way to be able to continue playing rugby close to home, right? And they said that that's an option come the latter part of the season. So I guess it's a wait and see scenario. But right now we can say that it is optimistic. The outview is looking good. And we will, if you want to be able to hear some of the real good points, make sure that you tune in on March 17th. As a viewer of the Rugby Rant, you'll be granted the privilege of seeing George Killebrew himself join us here on the show for our Run, Pass, or Kick interview. And that's 3 days before the start of the season. So that'll be an exciting opportunity. Gentlemen, that was another great round. So let's take a quick break as we hear a word from one of our sponsors again. And we'll see you back in just a few moments. Welcome back, rugby fans, again to the Rugby Rant podcast show. And now we enter the latter part of our presentation here on this episode, where we have put the Rugby Shop boys against the guys from the Rugby Rant. That is, of course, Rob Hammerschmidt, Scott Ferrara, Kyle the Mouth Ferguson, Ed the Boss Pie. And it is tough battle so far. Just a quick recap. The boys from the Rugby Rant took the first round in our Canadian or American quiz. That was the starting block there. They right out the block took that win. It was hard fought, but of course they led it into the next, which was the debate, where we're talking about the great things to come in season 4 for Major League Rugby. We still need to decide who won that round, but everybody had put up a good fight. And now it comes down to this one here as we do a trivia round. For those of you who have not yet seen it here on the Rugby Rant, it works like this. I will answer, or I will ask for the answer once I have completed the question. Not before, gentlemen. So the way it works, you wait until it's done. As soon as you think that you are ready to be answering, you need to raise your hand to the camera. And that means that the one I consider having done first will be the one to answer. If you fail in the correct answer, I will hand it to the opposing team. Remember, this is going to be Kyle and Ed versus Scott and Rob. And this will be the one to see who wins it all, regardless if Canada, our Canadian counterparts, or representing Canada, won the debate. That means that the Rugby Rant would have won the first and last round and take the win. Gentlemen, are we ready?
Let's do it.
All right.
See.
Ed, we're going to give you the honor as the guest to be able to... Actually, no. Let's see. What am I doing? Changing the rules. All right,
some of your inner dramatic.
Here we go. All right.
Get new help.
I'm back on track. Sorry, the budget's low. All right. We didn't rehearse this.
Scott and I have been saying that for a while.
First question. Are you ready? Who is the host nation of the 2023 Rugby World Cup?
Oh.
Rob Hammerschmidt.
France.
It is France. An easy one to start off. All right. That's a quick one out the rant there. Okay, so here comes the next one. USA versus Canada rivalry. The two teams first met in 1977 and have played every year since then, with the exceptions of 2010 and 2020. As of the end of 2019, which team has won more games? Oh, man, it was so close. I think I'm going to give it to Ed.
Canada.
The two sides have met 58 times with 22 wins for the US, 38 wins to Canada. Good job. That's a nice one.
No brainer.
We'll see how even that is.
Although
USA has gotten the better of Canada in the last probably 5 years.
The last
Right,
five.
fun and repertrage.
That's a whole nother debate show that
if
we
we had
could
to
go on
count the
about for
last
hours.
decade, it would be a completely different statistic, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go on to the next one. It's 1-1. What are the colors? I especially, by the way, wrote this question for Mr. Scott Ferrara. Just look at his face. What are the colors found on the Free Jacks jersey? Rob Hammerschmidt.
Red, white, and blue.
Okay. Red, white, and blue. Coincidentally, the same name and palette as the OGDC, who won the honor of wearing the United States flag on their 2021 MLR jersey, which can be found at the shopmlr.com.
Listen, as it runs shopmlr.com, you forgot the black stitching, so I think we need to.
The black stitching. That must be inside info there.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Ed, would you want to send me one of those personally, and that way I could have a closer look at it? That would be great.
Yeah.
It means
I
much
can take a
further
closer look at it
inspection.
too and put it right in the fire.
Yeah. If you're gonna do what the big guy does with New England stuff, you'll never see.
No.
him again.
You don't understand. If you haven't watched the show enough, clearly you don't know that I'm a shameless whore when it comes to rugby gear.
Oh,
Yeah,
we do.
definitely. Rob's loyalty can be bought. It's well known.
I mean, he's rocking Utah today, so that a boy.
That's right.
Yeah.
Got my,
I know,
got my
I like-
ball there. Got the shirt.
Yeah, that boy. Like it.
All right. So once again, guys, it has been a rugby debate with the Rugby Rant here, and we have taken the time to be able to quiz them. We've taken the time to be able to figure out their opinions, and it comes out that the Rugby Rant is the final winner. Although I will add that I will add the debate win to the Canadian counterparts at the Rugby Shop as a sympathy point.
He had to give us something.
Boo.
So
Yeah,
we do
like,
appreciate
wow.
you guys coming by.
Kitty win.
Spending some time with us. It doesn't matter how the win comes. It might not be pretty, but it's a win, right? So again, we like to be able to, at the end of each episode, take the opportunity to hand the floor to our guests to be able to send a shout out to somebody important, share a message that you think is important, whatever it may be. And we're going to hand the mic to Kyle Ferguson first.
Whoa. No pressure. The guys and I were laughing because my wife probably won't ever watch this, so I better not thank her. But on that note, just thanks, rugby fans in general, I guess, and just all the people out there doing what they can for rugby and the sport in general. That's the bottom line. We want to, as a company, we want to grow the game from the grassroots up. We've signed some great partners. I have some great contacts that I've made through girls rugby, Seattle Rugby Club, Canadian Classics, all the way up through the pros, and working with, club level guys up to the professional is humbling, and there's no real difference in the people that you meet. Everybody's the same, and everybody just wants to see this game do well. So thank you to all of you for what you do, whether you're at the top level or mom and pop driving your 5-year-old to touch on a Sunday. So thank you.
Excellent. I love that. Doesn't matter what level of the game you're at, all rugby people enjoy it, love it, and are driven by passion. Ed?
I'll give a shout out basically to the Rugby Shop staff, because we've had a trying year with no rugby happening, and obviously that's been difficult for us to keep things going. But we're seeing the rebound now, and we're starting to see rugby happen again. So just a shout out to everybody at the Rugby Shop who have been working hard to keep the company moving and keep us going in the right direction.
So what you're saying really is, we want to keep your employees happy, so everybody go to shopmlr.com, get your MLR merch, keep the rugbyshop.com's families fed.
And not just shop MLR, though. Come with your club, come with your organization, come with everybody. We'll hook you up, right? Like,
Just bring
we'll
all
set
the
up
rugby
stores.
people you
Check it
know.
out.
And by the way, they make some amazing customized masks. We're working on them for my high school and some of the teams at my high school right now. They just did an awesome job. They look wicked. So, they do everything.
Well, and as of this podcast, Girls Rugby that's a new partnership for us. That's just launched. So check that out. Lots of stuff in the pipeline from local clubs. And, it's not, like you say, it's not just about the pro teams, which it's a big focus, obviously, to grow the game, but grassroots up, right? Like that's where we're wanting to grow. We want the clubs to survive. That's our mandate. We want clubs to do well. So we're trying to get back that way as well. So
with over 125,000 registered rugby players estimated in the US and only 500 or so of them being professional, the vast majority of the game is still growing with the amateurs. Right. So once again, guys, it has been an opportunity to be able to talk rugby with these rugby guys who think they know rugby. But here we are every week. Once again, you can find out more about us by following us on social media, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, whichever you prefer, under the handle at Rugby Rant Pod. You can find us there, as well as all your streaming platforms such as Stitcher, Spotify, Google, Apple, wherever it may be, wherever you get your podcast from, you can get us at Rugby Rant Pod. My name is Ty Braga, the host of today's activities, alongside my colleagues Rob Hammerschmidt, Scott Ferrara, and on behalf of our guests from the Rugby Shop, that is Kyle Ferguson and Ed Pye, we say thank you for listening and watching the Rugby Rant.
Well, rugby fans, that's another episode done and dusted. Make sure that you follow us on YouTube, follow us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages to be able to learn more about upcoming episodes. And once again, thank you for listening to the Major League Rugby Rant podcast show.